got to play Books of Time. Now, this is brought to you by Robert's Collection. Not our own, actually, surprising. So he had stopped by and said, hey, listen, I think you're going to like this game. And, well, we'll see what we think about it. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, because board games are amazing, and that's what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. Now, Randy, can you tell us a little bit more about Books of Time?
I can. So this is a 2023 release. It currently has a Board Game Geek rating of 7.7 and a Board Game Geek rank of 7643. It's a 1 to 4 player game, average length of 45 to 60 minutes. Probably a little longer we played it, but we'll get into that in a minute. Aged 14 and up. Designed by Philip Glowitz, art by Zbigniew Mgelter. I know I've seen that name before because I knew I couldn't pronounce it before either. Alexander Zawada, definitely seen his name. And it's published by Board and Dice Games. MSRP for this is $50. Cheapest I found it online is at Card House, which is $34.95, and Game Nerds is $34.97. So it's 2 cents difference. Pick your poison, whichever one you prefer to order from. Either one of them's a good price. You can find it like new on Board Game Geek for $30 right now. So if that $5 is bothering you and you don't mind a like new copy, you can certainly pick it up there, but then you're probably paying shipping, so go ahead and probably stick with the new copies. It's a deck building, hand management, open drafting, and set collection game, and it comes with these little cool binders, which we'll talk about here.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about quality of components. So it's very interesting that you actually have little binders to make your books. And then you do have really thick cover pages. That makes a lot of sense. You also, for the main one, you have this cardboard setup here. You do get a lot of wooden tokens as well as cardboard chits. All of the items are the resources in this are cardboard chits, and then you have the wooden actual player tokens. That's about it. The binders are very functional.
Yes. They bring back nightmares of elementary school when I used to pinch my fingers in them all the time.
I just hope that they last over time, because binders don't have a habit of doing that, and there is a lot of opening and closing.
And the pages are very thin.
But they seemed a pretty sturdy binder, so I'm hoping we have some good luck. Overall, quality of components, I'll probably get a 7 because of the little binders, because of the cardboard here. There is, I think, a minor linen finish on the cards. The thickness is okay. It's not great. Yeah. So I'm good with the 7. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think 7's fair. I think the the linen finish is pretty prominent actually on the cards. It's pretty well defined. But my concern is the same as yours. The binders are going to become weaker, and these are very thin, that they're going to fall out.
I am concerning that they're going to break. Yeah. So the whole
and good luck replacing them. I mean, they may have some more you can order from the Board and Dice, but there's no way you're going to find these custom sized binders. Right.
So hopefully they will last a long time, and if not, hopefully they'll offer replacements. Let's then move on to the theme. So the theme is that you are writing a book. You're actually writing 3 different books. One about your travels, one about science-related matter, and one about
engineering.
Engineering?
It's one's science, one's engineering. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of that goes into effect, and so you're basically writing different pages that allows you to get different abilities throughout the course of the game. Thematically, you're literally making a book. It's kind of awesome. They did spot on that. Is the art fantastic? No, it's all right. It's okay. But the fact is you're actually making a book.
Yeah.
And it does matter with one in particular, the order in which you place things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that, thematically, I'm probably going to give it a 7.5, 8, 7.5. Because like I said, the art isn't fantastic, but the very act of putting the books together, considering that's the theme, is spot on.
I'm probably going to go an 8 because I think the iconography is well done. It's actually pretty easy to understand once you get the basics of it. And you don't have to do a whole lot of referencing of the rulebook.
See, my problem is with iconography. I almost want to put that with rulebook over than I do put it with theme. But it's hard. Where do you put that, right?
Yeah. So moving on to the rulebook. The rulebook's 28 pages long, and it's got a full cover and a full back on it. So it's actually 26 pages of content. But that is actually not what you have to read in order to play the game, because there's a lot of section in this that's talking about the various scientists, inventors, and such that are in the game. So there's a huge history section about each of the different card types. And so you really only have from page 2 to page 15 that's actually the game and setup. So
I feel like this one would be a really great one for school education kind of thing.
It would be a good setting for that. Then, after that, there's the solo mode, which is in here, and then the appendix that teaches, basically any of the iconography. If you did have a question, it's all identified here. But the cheat sheet takes care of most of that for you. Most of the icons are already represented on your cheat sheet, at least in a shorthand form. And then you've got all the actions that you need for the game on the other side. So this cheat sheet's actually really well done.
Yeah, I really appreciated the cheat sheet. I thought it was spot on and it was perfect. So
I'm going to go ahead, because of the cheat sheet being so well done, and the book is laid out nicely. It's the setup on it is clear. It's got the pictures, and then the construction of the lectern is in here. I'm going to go ahead and give this probably 8.5. I think they've done an outstanding job.
Fantastic. All right, so now let's move on to the gameplay. All right, so you start out the game with 6 cards in your hand. You're going to take one of them and place them in your book. The other 5, 2 of them go out on your kind of drafting table.
Yeah.
And then the rest go in the discard pile. So then that's the start of the game. So if it's my turn, I can choose to either take an action or trigger this, I guess, common lectern book first. So I get to choose which one I want to do first. And if I choose the lectern app, I can only do one of these pages. So for example, in this one, I can either draw a card into my drafting row, or I have to spend 2 cards from my drafting row, 4 or 5 victory points, okay? Because this one's towards the end of the game. All right, or I could do my actions, and I get to do either one but I have to finish one before I can go to the other. Then I have the actions that are available to me. There's activating pages, which means I pick one book and I do both the left and right pages before I then turn the page. So I get to do those actions. Or I can write pages, which basically means I pay the cost of my drafting board and play as many of the cards as that I can afford. As you put cards in, you do gain resources. You can use those resources to buy additional cards. So that was super helpful multiple times.
And you do have to match book colors. So if you have a yellow card, it has to go in the yellow book. Green has to go in green.
Correct.
Red.
Correct. All right, and then, and I don't know why you wouldn't want to, because that's the way the scoring's done. But, and then closing a book. So if, for example, I'm closing my book here, I'm going to put my little marker. I'm going to close my book. I'm going to, from the start. And then everything there's this bottom box that's kind of outside of the player ability. I'll get all of those items until I reach my purple marker. So, 1, 2, I'll get several different resources until I hit this marker again. Then I'm going to take the marker out. I'm going to start from the very beginning and do that. It's a way to reset some of your actions as well as gain some resources, because resources are pretty tight in this game. And then I could draw. So from my drafting row, there's actual cards that I can end up drafting. So one of the actions I can take is actually just take 2 of them. I can choose to spend 2 victory points to wipe the board. And I did that more than I want to care to talk about. Just because it was super useful, because you need specific things to get. And then advance, you could basically go up here, pay the cost that's associated. You could do it as many times as you want for each of the 3 different levels. But again, it gets expensive. And then you can turn the pages, which basically you can choose one or all 3. You can turn the pages, but only get the resource that's there at the bottom.
You also have these in-game goals. One is for matching each color, and when you go up the track, instead of taking the ability of the track as you move up, you can opt to remove the top one, which increases the scoring for that category, but it also makes it more difficult to achieve it because it adds more conditions to you getting that. So the yellow ones have to be sequential and nothing in between, so you have to make sure you get them in the right order. The green is having a specific number of different of the icons because there's 4 different categories in each color.
And then you have to have a second.
Yellow.
And then you have to have a second one of the last one.
Yes.
And that will depend on the different stuff you get. Yeah. And then you have to, for the red, it's about sets. So I like, for example, I need 4 planets and 2 of the same of something else. Okay. So that's kind of what that looks like. Just a general overview. I will say this. So we played this once and we had to go eat. And then I told Randy on our way back, we're going to play it again.
Because I won and she wasn't happy with that.
No, well, I mean, a little bit. But it's just more of trying to understand the game. And then when we got done the second time, I beat Randy. And then he was like...
And I wasn't happy with that.
So we played again the same night. So we played this 3 times in one day. And just try to make sure, because there's a lot of strategy, but it's a lot of fun. I think it's very telling that we played it 3 times in a day.
Yeah, and I ordered it somewhere amidst the first to second game. I'm not sure exactly where it was. I ordered it.
So I think Rob was right. I think we both liked it quite a bit. And let's talk about the scoring. It was a lot of fun. I think it's straightforward in the sense that you're not getting bogged down by the nuance of the rules, right? Because the rules are pretty straightforward. The cheat sheet clearly states what's going on. And there are plenty of things of actions to do. In fact, we forgot the last one until towards the end of the second game. We were like, oh yeah, we could do this. That would have been helpful.
Yeah, I was stuck on my sequence and I had pages I had to get out of the way. And it's like, oh, after we got to the last turn, you pointed out the fact, oh, you could have spent turns turning the pages to get them out of your way. I'm like, that would have been useful information earlier in the game. Thank you.
It was right there.
Well, I know. I taught you the game, but I'd forgotten that because it didn't seem like it was that important. Then it felt it was really important with the yellows.
Right, but then the third game, we didn't really need it because we were managing our cards a little bit better. So that's kind of how it was.
I'll also say that we played in the third game. We both played totally different strategies and came within 4 points of one another. And I like to see that.
Well, because the first time you kicked my butt, and then the second time I kind of kicked your butt, and then the third time we were about even kill. I do think there's a little bit of luck with the card draft, what comes up.
But you can spend 2 victory points to wipe it, which gives you a little bit.
And you have to be willing to do that, and that's the other piece. There is multiple strategies. You can focus on these and get a lot of points because the first time I won, that's what I did. The second time I won, I focused on the tracks, right? So I think it's just, I think it is a matter. There are different ways to go about it. And there's another strategic thing that I've got going in my head. I don't know if I'm willing to do it. But you could just focus on one color. If you focused on one book, the way that the scoring is up the track, if you focused on one book and go up the scoring, you might be able to get enough points to really combat. So that's something else that I was looking at. So I'm not sure, like you said, there's multiple ways, and I'm intrigued to see that one played out, but I just was coming up with that one.
That's kind of what I did on the last one. I actually ended up getting all my bonuses, but I definitely focused on green, and I moved up the green track and got a lot of points off of all the cards of green that I'd played because I had accumulated so many of them. And if you manage to get to the top of the track, for every color, you get 2 victory points per page in your book. Yeah. So since I had so many pages, I got like almost 20 points off of that. And so, you definitely, if you focus on one color, you could get a lot of points. Whereas I didn't get all the others very far up the track. And that was my downfall because you managed to basically on your last turn buy your way up all the tracks.
Right. I was saving my resources the whole time. I was trying to put books in my thing and then trying to just accumulate resources to buy the last bit. It'd be very interesting to see how this all
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and I think there's a lot of nuance to it, and I think but the rules are straightforward.
Yeah, it's
right?
easy to learn. I like games that are easy to learn, hard to master, and it's one that doesn't overstay its welcome. It plays exactly the length that I think it should. You'll feel frustrated that it's ending as fast as it is, but that's the way it should be, and that makes you want to come back and play it again.
Right. Absolutely. You know, I mean, I wouldn't mind one more turn, but then at the same time, you'd probably say that every single time.
Yeah.
No, I think it ends about just right. If you like to feel frustrated about barely not being able to complete everything. I think that's it. They just hold you back just so you can't complete everything. But overall, loved it. Talk about scoring. What are you giving it?
I'm probably going to give it an 8.5 is where I think I'm at. I think it's a good game to get out. It's quick to get out. There is a little bit of setup with getting all the cards shuffled, and especially if you have to disassemble after the last players played. If the pages are still in all the books, you got to make sure.
Well, I assume this part is.
But beyond that, I mean, there's not that many components beyond the pages in the books, so it's not a hard one to get out like Marrakesh was, where there's tons of pieces. But it's a good lengthy game. I think we played a little longer than 60 minutes because we were so intent and focused on our strategies, but it didn't feel like it was that much hang up in the game. But it is, I think there's a lot more game to this. And we played 3 times in one night, and I still want to play it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think with more players, it will be even more interesting.
So I'm taking that means whenever our friends get here today, we're playing it again.
That's not what that means. I'm just stating with more players, I think it'll even be more interesting because the cards will be faster to go through. But anyway, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.